Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us and joining us for lunch for some of you. My name is Fakanda. I'm Director of Customer Success at Fliptop, and today I'm going to be speaking with one of my favorite clients, Joe from Inside View, talking about how he really used Fliptop, Salesforce, and some of the other systems that he had to drive marketing success. And with that, I'll hand it over to Joe so we can go ahead and get started.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming, and thank you everyone for coming by today. And one of the things that really brought us to things like predictive lead scoring and certainly Fliptop was a very typical conversation that started happening last year where me running demand gen was very proud of the fact that I just did like 8,000 leads or something for a program, and I'm like, hey, this is awesome, you know? And my boss's response was, yeah, who cares, how much revenue did you drive, right? So I'm like, okay. And if you think about the role of demand gen and marketing within an organization, everyone's really hyper-focused in on revenue, helping sales prioritize leads, and ultimately your success as a marketer is tied into how effective your sales team actually is. So with that in mind, kind of 2014, we started off with a couple of high-level goals that we wanted to do. Some of the things are we wanted to really focus in on improving how quickly we were able to follow up on leads. So very selfishly of me, I wanted my leads to get followed up on immediately by all of our sales reps, and selfishly by them, they only wanted, the Glengarry leads, so to speak. They only wanted people that were to close. So we wanted to improve the speed to engagement. We wanted to increase the number of qualified leads that were actually going into the sales team. And then the other thing, which was pretty key for us, is we wanted to maintain level of quality in terms of the experience of our prospect. We wanted to make sure that the first time they heard of Inside View, by downloading a white paper or signing up for a webinar, that they actually had a really great experience. So with those things in mind, one of the things that we really kind of came up with against those goals are things like the people and buyers are actually in control of a lot more of the process. People typically don't really want to talk to a salesperson. They want to understand about your product. They want to go research on their own. They're on your competitor sites. They are looking at the materials that they have out there. So there's a very kind of high bar, so to speak, of your prospects actually going and engaging with your sales team. The other thing is when you think about typical inbound marketing and typical content programs that you have, data quality and the lead quality that comes back is actually pretty terrible. And there's kind of like a two-form thing where you've got a certain set of information you need to get out of a prospect. So for us, we want to know things like what type of CRM system do they use? What type of marketing automation system do they use? And because that helps us qualify, it helps put that lead in the context for our sales team. Well, if you're a prospect, you probably don't really want to go through the process of telling me all of that. So you have to walk this line of getting the information that you want without necessarily burdening your prospects with really cumbersome forms and long form fields and things like that. And then the other thing, which is really kind of key that we found, is traditional demand gen was really starting to lose a lot of effectiveness. People are just saturated with banner ads, they're saturated with email campaigns, they're saturated with all this stuff that a campaign that was really great a couple years ago, if you just kind of spooled it up again, it's probably not going to work nearly as well right now because people are just saturated with similar messaging going after you by a lot of different competitors that are in your space. So the kind of perfect storm of challenges really was that we didn't know as much about our leads as we necessarily needed to in order to put it in front of the sales team. Our demand gen wasn't being as effective because people were saturated with messaging from all of our competitors and even non-competitors, just other priorities that they have on their plate. And with all that in mind, one of the things that we really started to do, which kind of helped us get over some of these hurdles, is really marry what we like to call a relevant message with a timely message. So for us, it's not just about trying to figure out the right thing to say, but we really want to know when we should say it. And an interesting stat up here that we found is that 10% of your cold calls and cold emails are going to get engaged with, just in general. But if you were to match up a relevant message and make sure that you're putting it or reaching out to them at the right time, that engagement rate goes up to 80%, which is pretty incredible. And Fliptop really kind of helps us do that along with our own internal system. So inside we use a product, we're a market intelligence platform, so we have a little bit of an advantage just because we actually do make a product that does this. What we essentially do is take the inbound lead information and we help fill in the gaps of what's coming inbound and also put in relevant insights. So our sales team and our marketing follow-ups no longer are just, hey, thanks for downloading the ebook, but we're able to say that this person downloaded an ebook and their company just went and got acquired, and now they're having to scale up a sales and marketing team. And that's something that we can actually use. We can position inside View to tell them specifically how we can help with those challenges. And all of a sudden you're having a very relevant conversation with them and in terms of the pain points that they're actually facing at the time. So it really kind of ramps up and increases the effectiveness of your campaigns. So how we do it at Inside View is a pretty straightforward process. And first thing, we are a Marketo shop. So we generate a large number of leads. It all flows into Marketo. And then from there, we immediately score them or enrich them with our own product. So we reduce the number of form fields down to 4. So we're just asking for name, company, and an email address. And from there, we take those 4 fields and we have a complete view of the lead, and we add 28 additional fields onto there. And the thing that it does very nicely is it allows us to reduce the form fields and really have a great first experience with that prospect. We don't have to do progressive profiling, we don't have to ask them to fill out 5 or 6 different forms, and we don't have to annoy them with really needless qualification calls when they do get in touch with one of our sales reps. And then once we are able to enrich the leads, we actually push it over into Fliptop. And Fliptop does some really cool stuff, and it basically takes a look at the lead with all the additional data that we put in there, and it gives it a score of how closely it aligns with our previous buyers. And it's a really interesting system because it learns as we go. So if we start going into another vertical, the system updates itself and the model updates itself. And then ultimately, we push that predicted score with the complete profile into our sales team. And some of the results we've been able to drive are pretty remarkable. So the A leads, one of the things that we do is if Fliptop comes back and says, hey, this is an A lead, I know that, okay, this is a really good prospect for us, and we don't have to wait necessarily to show the same amount of behavior for it. So we actually just push that in front of our sales team almost immediately, so it improves that time to follow up. And our conversion rates on those are pretty high. We're at 90+% when we're doing that. So it's not just we're throwing more crap over the fence, we're actually putting quality in that the team is able to follow up on and engage with. Now, from an outbound perspective, we do things slightly different. Outbound marketing is something that we do pretty heavily at Inside View still, and we actually start with Fliptop. And the reason why we do that is Fliptop tells us who our likely buyers are, and they give us a whole bunch of really useful information about the types of companies we should be targeting, the types of people we should be targeting within those companies. And then we take that information, put it into our own system to actually develop a qualified list of companies. And then from there, we actually use a system called ToutApp, which our sales team uses to actually go and execute on an outbound campaign. ToutApp's pretty cool if you guys have never heard of it, but the results there is we are actually driving all of those A and B scored accounts directly into the SDRs for a very high touch outbound campaign. And then the rest go into more of an automated low touch thing that we're just able to kind of hit them every so often. But the combination of this is actually a pretty remarkable. One of the things that we did, and these guys don't even know it yet, so it's not on the slide, but our outbound process for last quarter was actually 200% to goal. 208% actually. So doing this actually had some pretty remarkable results for us, a lot better than what we were expecting when we started the outbound process with them. And then some additional results that we saw specific to the inbound process. When we started, we had a lead to MQL conversion rate of about 8%, which is pretty good. We do a lot of volume. We actually have a pretty high bar of qualification before we push it into a sales team. And then just leveraging Fliptop, being able to do additional high-touch nurture programs, we're able to increase that over to 17%, which is what we're running at now. We're actually trending up, so this quarter we're expecting to cross the 20% mark, which is awesome. And we're not seeing any fallouts in the rest of the funnel, so once again, it's not just that we're throwing more crap on top of the pile for sales to follow up with, but we're actually throwing the right leads that they can actually prioritize and call on right now. The other thing which was really important to us is we wanted to actually improve how quickly our sales team got onto the leads and followed up with them. So one of the things when we first started was the time it took us to actually qualify a lead was about 21 days, because they came inbound, we saw that they came inbound, and then we had to go through and start nurturing them, get them to download additional pieces of collateral, start to build up the behavior score on them. And in general, that took about 21 days for us. Putting Fliptop in place allows us to really kind of shorten that window, and we were able to get that down to 7 days, which is really important for us. So not only is it we're creating more qualified leads, but we're also engaging them much quicker, which when you get back to the whole timely aspect of this, is really important for us to be able to drive really significant results for InsideView from a revenue and pipeline perspective. So in summary, kind of how we do it is we want to keep sales focused. We actually have pretty aggressive SLAs on this as well. So Fliptop allows us to actually have this. So we have a different SLA and a different method of following up with the leads based on that Fliptop score. So if an A lead comes in, we actually hold them to an hour. They have to follow up and process the lead within an hour. Compare that with something like a C, we actually give them 24 hours for that. So it helps them prioritize their day, prioritize their follow-up, and we've got reports and we've got alerts that go off, and we've got little nudges that their managers get if they're falling outside the SLA window. So that really helps us drive to that performance. And then the other thing which I think is really important is removing the progressive profiling and reducing form fields. If you're really able to have a great first experience for your prospects, it's going to just make them a lot happier. You don't want to discourage them. You don't want to piss people off just because they're trying to buy your software. So reducing form fields, really simplifying the process from what it takes for them to come inbound, fill out a form, and then get into a sales conversation is actually a good thing for your prospects. And I think that's it. I'll turn it over to Farkhanda now.
Thank you so much, Joe. So I love seeing results like that with our clients, mostly because we're able to see that return on investment pretty quickly, or InsideView is able to see that return on investment pretty quickly. And in addition, we're able to really partner with our clients to create some phenomenal wins at their organization. So what you'll see here is how it works. So as Joe mentioned, we built a predictive model for InsideView, and how we did that is we plugged into InsideView's Salesforce instance, pulled out all of their closed won and closed lost historical information, appended about 3,500 signals to that information in our backend system to create a digital fingerprint of an ideal InsideView client. And we do that with other clients as well. And with that, we're able to score in a really simple fashion, apply a score of either A through D, A being the best and D being the least likely to convert or turn into revenue, future revenue for your company, and push that directly into Salesforce. So all the sales and marketing reps see is just a grade or a score, and they don't know that there's so much science, data science that goes into that. So we'll take care of the data science while you guys can really focus on the art of selling and marketing. And with that, I actually have a couple of slides. We are Salesforce One ready and super excited to be an ISV partner and have our grades and scores easily accessible in the Salesforce One app. What you'll see here is I've looked up a lead record, and right at the top it says person spend grade. And what that means is Carl Bass, in this case, is a great lead for me. If I were to prioritize my day as a sales rep, I'd be looking up a lead view and looking at the top leads in my lead view. And here in that second image, you'll see that you can drill down into the grade for Carl and see all the signals that went into making him an A. Some of these signals may be really, really apparent to some of you in your businesses, and then there are other things that we look up in our data partnerships, like recent funding or the technology stack of a company that is not as apparent to you or to your sales reps, or may take a ton more time to research. We cut all of that out and really make it a seamless experience in Salesforce One. These are just some of the dashboards that are available and configurable within your instance of Salesforce. And you'll see here, you can see very easily any top quality leads or the distribution, great distribution of leads, contacts, opportunities, and accounts for ones that haven't had any activity recently. So that's a clear action item for sales managers or in this case, marketing ops managers to relay back to their organizations. And we do also have some really cool marketing reports that we're able to customize with our clients. And with that, we'll actually open it up for questions. So any questions in the audience? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that the combined inbound and outbound, or was it inbound only?
That was just inbound only. Yeah. Question
Sorry,
was.
go ahead.
Yeah, the question was for the lead to MQL. Was that just inbound, or was that inbound and outbound? And it was just inbound only. So.
Yes.
So you use Marketo. So Marketo, how are they scoring? How do you use the Marketo card and then the other?
That's a great question, and the question is, since we use Marketo and they've got lead scoring, how does this all work together? And what we found is that Fliptop's a really great predictor, and we use it in a very similar sense to a demographic score. And what we also do is do behavior scoring within Marketo, and we kind of combine them together. And then we actually kind of work our lead flow with Fliptop in mind. So as I mentioned before, if Fliptop grades something as an A, we'll actually push it right into sales at that point. If something's a B or a C, we'll continue to actually go and keep track of behavior score and things like that within Marketo. So we kind of work together, or it works together. Yeah, they do. They native integration for everything. It's native into Salesforce, so no matter what you use.
Can you repeat that question, Joe?
Yeah, no, you definitely don't. And so the question is, do you have to fill out a form in order to get it over to sales? That's actually one of the nice things about a system like Fliptop is from events like this, or if you're going to do any offline events, webinars, things like that, where you don't have as much of an implicit score that's going to be contained within your system. Something like Fliptop really allows you to go in and prioritize and have a really good prediction of that lead without having to rely on a predictive score. And same thing with like an outbound target. You don't really have any behavior when you're starting. So this kind of does a level set and says this is how you should prioritize the leads.
And to add to what Joe mentioned, you actually don't have to have Marketo or a specific marketing automation system. As long as you have Salesforce, we're able to plug in to Salesforce directly. Our integration, you can ask Joe personally, takes 5 minutes at most. And we do all of the data science in the background, but plugging into Salesforce is really seamless, very easy. And we can pull out behavioral data that you have in Salesforce regardless of your marketing automation system and combine that with your existing sales data to really build a model that's significantly or statistically sound and can really predict what's likely to happen in the future for companies that are likely to be your customers. Any other questions? She's asking about recent funding and how we acquire that information. Did I get that question correctly? Okay, so we have over 40 data partners, and we acquire the funding information, all firmographic data from companies like InsideView, D&B, and a slew of other data partners. So whatever is publicly available, we are able to extract and apply that to your model to understand what are some of the signals or attributes of a company that are likely to turn them into customers for you, or likely to be a fit for your business. You'd be surprised what's out there about companies.
Yeah, and at that point, we're actually looking at things like press releases and stuff like that. So when a company gets funded, they typically go and they announce it with great big fanfare. Oh,
No,
no.
company
Yeah,
funding.
like company, like someone just raised a Series A or something like that. We do like acquisitions as well, mergers. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. There was another question right there from this gentleman. I'll take that question. Actually, right now we're focused primarily on B2B. It's something that we'd be willing to investigate as if we had more interest from our customers, but right now only B2B.
Yeah.
So if you do have a B2B segment, we're absolutely able to make an impact there. Any other questions? No? Thank you guys for being a really captive audience. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great time at Dreamforce.
Thank you.